For most people, data centers exist almost entirely out of sight. They power streaming platforms, cloud storage, artificial intelligence systems, financial networks, and much of the digital infrastructure behind modern life. Yet the physical facilities that support this technology are rarely discussed outside the tech industry. But something unusual has been happening across the United States. A massive land grab is underway, and it's being driven by one of the fastest-growing parts of the digital economy, data centers. In states like Texas, Virginia, Arizona, Ohio, Georgia, and Nevada, technology companies and infrastructure investors are quietly purchasing enormous amounts of land. Entire industrial zones, farmland parcels, and rural areas are being assembled into massive campuses designed to support the next generation of computing infrastructure. This land rush is not about traditional office buildings or tech campuses. It is about securing the physical space needed to power the future of cloud computing and artificial intelligence. To understand why this land grab is happening, you have to look at how much digital infrastructure the modern world now requires. Every time someone streams a movie, saves files in the cloud, runs a financial transaction, uses a navigation app, or interacts with an AI system, the request is processed inside a data center somewhere. For years, demand for these services grew steadily, but the explosion of artificial intelligence, streaming platforms, and digital services has dramatically accelerated the need for computing capacity. The facilities required to support that demand are enormous. A modern hyperscale data center campus can span hundreds of acres. And unlike traditional tech buildings, the land surrounding these facilities matters almost as much as the building itself. That is because data centers require far more than just server rooms. They need massive electrical substations, backup generators, cooling infrastructure, fiber connectivity routes, water systems, security zones, and room for expansion. Companies are not just building a single facility, they are building entire digital infrastructure campuses designed to grow for years. This is one of the biggest reasons land is suddenly becoming such a strategic asset in the tech industry. Once a company secures a suitable location, it often acquires surrounding parcels to guarantee future expansion capacity. The result is large-scale land consolidation that can stretch across hundreds or even thousands of acres. But land size alone is not the only factor driving this trend. Power availability is arguably the most important reason behind the land rush. Modern data centers consume extraordinary amounts of electricity. Facilities designed for artificial intelligence workloads can require hundreds of megawatts of power. To put that into perspective, a single large data center campus can consume as much electricity as a small city. That means companies cannot simply build these facilities anywhere. They must locate them near regions where the power grid can support massive new loads. As a result, tech companies are targeting areas with strong electrical infrastructure, proximity to transmission lines, and access to large-scale energy generation. This has turned certain regions of the United States into data center hotspots. Northern Virginia, for example, has become one of the most concentrated data center markets in the world. Texas is rapidly expanding due to its large power grid and business-friendly policies. Arizona has attracted projects due to available land and infrastructure expansion. Meanwhile, states across the Midwest and Southeast are competing to attract data center investment by offering tax incentives and infrastructure support. But acquiring the right land is not as simple as buying property. Companies must evaluate dozens of factors before committing to a location. The land must have stable geological conditions for heavy infrastructure. It must support high-voltage electrical connections. It needs access to fiber networks capable of carrying massive data traffic. Water access can also be important for cooling systems, depending on the design of the facility. Even proximity to highways and transportation routes matters because the construction process for a hyperscale data center involves moving huge amounts of equipment, building materials, and specialized hardware. All of these factors make suitable land relatively rare. And because the demand for data center construction is accelerating, companies are increasingly racing to secure the best locations before competitors do. This competitive pressure is driving what many industry observers describe as a quiet real estate arms race. Technology companies, private equity firms, infrastructure funds, and specialized data center developers are all competing for strategic land positions. In some cases, companies buy land years before construction begins, simply to ensure they control future expansion opportunities. Large data center campuses are often developed in phases, with new buildings added gradually as demand grows. Owning the surrounding land ensures that companies can scale their infrastructure without needing to relocate or renegotiate new land deals later. Another reason the land grab is accelerating involves long-term planning. Building a hyperscale data center is not a short project. From land acquisition to full operation, the process can take several years. Permitting, environmental reviews, infrastructure upgrades, and construction timelines all add complexity to the process. By securing land early, companies can begin the planning process well before computing demand reaches critical levels. This strategy allows them to stay ahead of future infrastructure needs. But this rapid expansion is also creating new tensions in some communities. Data centers generate economic activity, construction jobs, and local tax revenue. However, they also place significant pressure on power grids, water resources, and local infrastructure. In some areas, residents have raised concerns about energy usage, land development patterns, and environmental impact. Local governments are increasingly finding themselves balancing economic development opportunities with infrastructure planning challenges. Some regions are even reconsidering how quickly they want data center development to expand. At the same time, the scale of investment involved in these projects is enormous. A single large data center campus can represent billions of dollars in infrastructure spending. Once construction, hardware, power systems, and networking equipment are included. These investments ripple across the economy, supporting construction companies, electrical equipment manufacturers, fiber network builders, cooling technology providers, and many other industries.